Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Dark Souls 3 OST reaction. And previously, ladies and gentlemen, like literally last night, we talked about the living failures and how, in all honesty, it was just a mid-tier boss, high-tier OST, and that's kind of a little bit for the same for Oceiros, the Consumed King. Definitely one of the very interesting highlights for the late game of Dark Souls 3. It's sort of more designed for the people who care a little bit more about the lore and about what an absolute monster the father of Lothric and Lorien has turned himself into. Obsessed with creating a child of dragons, hereby transforming himself into one. And, well, the fights, I think actually, to be honest, the best way I can give the idea is if I just showcase to you guys the opening to this fight, or rather just how the fight begins, because it's a pretty interesting beginning, all things considered. Because it's pretty I think it is pretty interesting, and it's certainly a more interesting style. It's essentially sort of like a take on Seek the Scaleless, because we don't, in Dark Souls 3 we don't really have this type of fight yet, where it's sort of a bit more based on magic. But I don't know, maybe Oceiros is possibly more interesting again, but this is just how the fight begins. See, he doesn't have any scales either.
Ah, you ignorant slaves. Finally taken notice, have you? Of the power of my beloved Ocelot, child of dragons. Well, I will not give him up, for he is all that I have.
So, yes, the comparisons to Seath, by the way, aren't necessarily skin deep, because he doesn't have any scales, he can't see, and it becomes even more the case when you see... well, we'll get to that at some point, but why does this guy have, a report as... Well, we'll not hold it against him, but here's how it begins, eh? It's the music in this is just top tier. I can't even lie. Themes of worship and intervention, as though it's composed as a hymn. It's more really about trying to praise Ocelot than the king. Interestingly, only because Oceiros makes it very clear that it's about witnessing the power of Ocelot. it is what I would almost describe as sort of like a track of two halves. One is about more like praise for the infant, and now it's witness the terror of the king. Yeah. It's and I suppose really we could also just go back to like how the fight progresses, because again it's for Osiris's blindness sort of comes a little bit more into its own due to his like moveset and stuff like that. And again, a lot of this is comparable for anyone who's played the first game, and when you fight Seath and how his AoE is extremely clunky and Osiris is far more refined, but we'll keep going.
Dear little Ocelot, where have you gone? Are you hiding from me? Come out. Come out. Don't be afraid. You're a child of Prince. What could you possibly fear? No. Show yourself, Ocelot. My dear little Ocelot.
Actually, to be honest, the only thing I might want to say, possibly, as we stare into this guy basically beating Osiris's crotch, is that it didn't even occur to me that at no point did I think they ever suggested the idea that Osiris was the actual father to Lothric and Lorien. I mean, I don't remember if there was ever any reference before to this, but begs the question, eh? Good to know that one of his messages was rated. So, again, once you get into like the second half of Osiris's fight, he basically just throws his staff away, completely loses all sense, and just goes on a rampage, because as far as he's concerned, either Ocelot is just we either killed Ocelot, or he just didn't he just came to terms that he couldn't find him anywhere. It is a bit of an interesting, again, thought that I didn't consider, that perhaps maybe we ended up killing Ocelot. Did we just kill an infant in Dark Souls 3? Maybe. I have no reason to suggest otherwise. I mean, it doesn't show up at any other point. And, well, that's kind of... I do really like the fight and the OST for Oceiros. Maybe it could have been a little bit more, but I don't know. Maybe if Oceiros had perhaps maybe a bit more of a dramatic sort of like second stage, where he like his wings sprouted bigger, he had like a bigger AoE blast or something like that. I mean, he can shoot crystals and has the ability to curse you just like Seath, but it felt definitely a lot of callbacks to Seath, and there was a lot more. But I also feel like maybe there could have been more to it as well. With that being said, the OST is, again, I'm going for the idea that you fight Oceiros with Ocelot, and then you fight Oceiros completely separately, and the implications is sort of paramount to how like the music's composed and why it's done in that certain bow to your king sort of stance. And with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed the OST to Oceiros, the Consumed King, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.